Hello.
Good morning.
How are
Good
you,
morning.
Inez?
I'm doing well, ladies. How are you?
Very
Doing
good.
well.
I'm so excited that you got to join us today for the show. So before we get too far in, because sometimes we do that, we don't actually even introduce the guest. We just start like running away. I want to make sure that our audience knows who is on our show today. Miss Inez K. Jones, who was one of my mentors for a time when I was a Mary Kay and a Mary Kay director. So Inez is a Mary Kay director. She's also a serial entrepreneur. She's a scholarship consultant and expert motivational speaker, singer, songwriter, Miss Black Illinois. I mean, good God, I could go on and on and on about your accolades. But I just want to hear from you. Like, who are you in life? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here this morning with you all. And I'm Inez K. Jones on all social media. So you can follow me at Inez K. Jones, because I usually forget to say that. So I want to do that first. And I am a lover of life. And so I feel like one of my purposes in life is to help to catapult and energize people to be their best selves. And so I believe that happens in a lot of shapes and forms. And I do it on multiple levels and different spheres of life. And so the one we're talking to you about today is energy, which is one that I think is such a pivotal topic.
Absolutely. And it's one that, for me, I've been in the realm of working in energy for a while, and it's still something that's very elusive to me. So I can only imagine, for folks who don't necessarily work inside the sphere of energy or have never gotten energy healing work done, that it is something that is what we call woo-woo, out in the like lay world. So my curiosity, Inez, is how did you get interested in the realm of energy and using it for healing purposes?
Okay, great question. And quite honestly, I was sick. I was very sick. I went to Mayo Clinic. I went to University of Chicago, Northwestern. I mean, all over. I got so sick they didn't know what to do. And at one point, I was planning my funeral. Like, it was that severe. And so I feel like I tried everything I could think of and what people would recommend. And I found that the homeopathic ways seem to help tremendously. And the one that I've had the most success with is actually Reiki. So much so that because it helped me so much when my practitioner was using the Reiki energy to help heal me in different parts of my body that the doctors didn't think could be healed or could be fixed. Because I wasn't even walking at one point. I was in walking boots, it was crazy. And so when that happened, I realized like, wow, there must be something to this. And so I was intrigued to learn more. And as time progressed and the years progressed, I decided to also become a Reiki practitioner and to practice. And so I recently shared it with the world. And I love it because I believe that people forget about energy and we aren't taught it in schools. We aren't even taught it in our families. We aren't taught it in churches. We aren't necessarily taught energy. We might be taught spiritual, but we're not taught energy. And I believe that Reiki is the doctor for your energy. And so that's how I explain it in layman's terms.
That's awesome. Now, are you out right now? Because I actually authentically don't know this. Inez and I are actually pretty good friends. And I'm curious, are you out now like practicing Reiki on other folks actively? And what is your practice? I mean, what is that looking like for you right now?
It's looking like a case-by-case basis. And, with everything going on in the world, some people are worried about being up close, but Reiki actually doesn't require touch. You can touch, but it doesn't require it. And that's just how powerful it is. And there's also long distance Reiki. And so long distance Reiki can be done virtually via Zoom, via FaceTime, via whatever method you use to communicate with others. And so I believe that it's more powerful in person, especially if it's your first experience, but you can experience and have benefits from it either way. And so it's just, it's a gift. It really is a gift. And the other way that one of my mentors explains it is that Reiki is like the energy that Jesus used to heal. And so if you think of it that way, where did that come from? Well, it funneled and he used it. And we actually, many of us have the capabilities, we just don't know it. And so I love being able to facilitate that. And all it is really, it's lighting a spark to facilitate your body's own healing mechanisms. Your body has the ability to heal itself from anything. And then it goes, of course, into your chakras and aligning your chakras.
Yeah.
Can you, I'm curious for myself because I have an idea, but I also think a lot of people don't really understand what it is you're doing when you're practicing Reiki on someone. So what is it that you're doing? What is your intention when you're practicing, when you're in a session with someone?
Well, my intention is to first and foremost, to do a scan of their aura and their chakras, because everyone has different gifts. And so one of mine is that I can actually see the colors. I can see, what color they illuminate. I can see the color of the different chakras. And when they're off, I can feel the heat or the cold, like I can actually feel it. And so depending on which chakra might be out of alignment, and the one that I find most people are out of alignment with is the root chakra, which is at the bottom of your feet. And what that is because in order to align your root chakra, you want to actually stand outside in the grass barefoot. And if you think about it, over time, we've gotten away from being barefoot with nature. And I was someone who was afraid of bugs and ants crawling on my feet. So like, if I can do it, anyone can do it. But it really helps because it connects you with the universe and the earth. And so that's always one of the first things I recommend for anyone, just to do it on your own, and you will feel a little difference. But all that's happening is I'm doing a scan first to see what's going on. Reiki sessions are very private because sometimes things that are shared are intimate and kept confidential, of course. And so we just talk through maybe what's going on and work through trying to kind of clear whatever blockages you might have, because sometimes people have blockages where their chakras aren't operating at their full capacity. And so then I'm like the connector that is allowing the universal energy to flow through me, but not actually take away from my own energy. And so a lot of people make that mistake when they have gifts that they don't understand, is that they're depleting themselves instead of allowing it to funnel through. And so I am able to do that to help jumpstart them and give them a little boost. That's all it is. It's like a little boost. It's like an energy drink that you might drink. It's an energy boost for your actual energy of your spirit, of your auras, and people they can feel something happening in the time. Some people say, oh, it feels a tingle, or wow, it feels heat or strong. And then other people will see results later. Like they might start having more dreams, or something might seem more clear, or they might just get inspiration. And so it happens in a lot of ways. The more sessions you do, of course, the stronger it is.
Okay. Oh. So when you were dealing with your health issues, was that like a blockage in your energy chakras? Was that you were taking on too much of other people's stuff? What do you imagine happened there?
So it was a combination of everything you just said. It was several blockages. And sometimes blockages can be healed just with Reiki, but other times blockages, you actually need a physical cleanse, like your body needs a cleanse. I'm a firm believer in the master cleanse, the lemonade cleanse. I live by it because sometimes your body just needs to go back to its organic state so that it can wash out everything. So the first thing I personally had to do was get all of the medications out of my system. And some of those medicines, even after I stopped taking them, it took an entire year for it to be fully out of my bloodstream. Wow. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, whoa. And so that was part of the first steps. So clearing blockages, I mean, I do believe you have to do some personal development work, right? And so that's always a plus as well. But I think those were the most pivotal things right there. And then working on, like actively working on. I started getting Reiki sessions like 3 times a week at one point, so that I could, you know, really hone in on what it is that I needed. And then the last step was for me to learn how to do it for myself. And so I think that was actually the most powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do know that there is something in taking personal responsibility, right? And so you know, looking at what you're saying, like, well, there's the personal development piece, right? Which is that piece of, okay, who am I being? How am I showing up in this whole situation?
In the world.
And how is that impacting what's going on internally? But you took it now. Not everybody takes it to that next step like you did, Inez, where you were like, okay, now I am going to learn how to harness the Reiki energy myself.
I was very resistant. Okay. I even told my practitioner who saw it before I saw it. She was like, yeah, I think you're meant to do this. I said, no, I'm not. So it took me a while. So everyone's on their individual journey, you know, and you do have to be ready. And you know when you are. But I have seen such a change, honestly, since I've gone through that process. Like, I feel like a brand new person. Like, I don't stress as much. I don't worry as much. Not that anything has necessarily changed drastically. I have a different perspective and outlook on life. And I hear the universe differently. And I hear the Lord, you know, speaking to me, or, you know, whatever you call it. Everyone has different terminologies, but it's a different state of being. And I think that we're all meant to have it. We're all meant to wake up blissful. We're all meant to operate in our purpose and our mission. And I always say that because everyone has a purpose and a mission on this planet. And so it's about fulfilling that on your journey.
Yeah. And as you were talking about, you know, learning to let that energy flow through you rather than taking it on, you know, I think of, I'm a therapist. And so I think of all of the clients that I've worked with who are intuitive empaths, which they feel other people's energy. And I
was going to go there next.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that practitioners of Reiki are probably really great at it if they are intuitive empaths, if they can feel that energy. It seems to me like a natural gift to be able to feel other people's energy. But that
it could be a gift. It could be
if you don't know,
it felt like a curse at first. Let me let you know. So it didn't feel like much of a gift.
If you don't know how to channel it, if you don't know how to funnel it, if you don't know how to cleanse yourself, then that just gets piled on until you're just energetically blocked.
I want to take a moment to welcome Heimdall's Gate to the chat.
Oh yes,
you know, one of our biggest fans.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
So what is that?
I would right. Can I tell? So what's the like? That's how I was gonna jump in there. So that was actually, and we in the spiritual realm we call it your awakening. And so that awakening process is very powerful and can be overwhelming. And so part of that was probably what was I didn't realize was affecting me, that I was taking on other people's, I physically, literally can take on other people's pain. Like, I legit can actually like feel it. And so a friend of mine that for example has sickle cell, I was able to describe to him to a T what he was feeling, and he couldn't believe it. Like, he was like, how do you know this? I was like, because I feel it. I feel it. And I didn't realize you were going through this every day. So it almost gives me more compassion, right, for people with different ailments, because I actually can take it on. Now, that can be overwhelming when you times a room of 100 people. And so I had to learn to, number one, differentiate when it was my energy, my feelings, or when it was someone else's, and then how to hone in on whoever I'm meant to help in that moment, and when to just, you know, make my bubble where I could just be me. And so when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so I had a wonderful energetic leader that helped me through that period, because that was a season that I had to learn how to hone that gift. That's all it is. You're just learning how to hone it. And so I do believe it takes intentional effort and practice. And then I had another teacher that was the one that introduced me to Reiki, and another one that actually taught me about healing myself with the Reiki. And so I just believe that, you know, the universe will provide when you're ready, whoever you need to lead you on your journey. And so that is really the most beautiful thing. But you're spot on with that, Sammy. Like, it can get overwhelming if you don't understand it and you don't know how to separate and differentiate.
Absolutely. Yeah, Heimdall says, I hated that I missed last week. Sorry.
I know, we missed you so much.
Yeah, and so this kind of like leads me, you know, we talked a little bit before the show about what kind of topics we're going to be stepping into, and there's kind of an obvious one when we're talking about the collective and the collective energy of people. And, you know, right now we are in an energetically tense and really tough space, politically and even worldwide. I mean, you like America, you know, we're having some issues, but if you look globally, there are some really serious issues going on. So what is it a person can do, especially like an intuitive empath, in a time where there is so much stress, so much like loose and irresponsible energy as well, like shooting all over the place? I mean, how do you, Inez, manage something like that?
Well, that's a heavy question right there.
That's a big one.
That's a heavy question. So there's if we were going to break it down into a few categories, I would say one, there's the collective consciousness, right? And so right now we're in a pivotal time where the consciousness of the world is shifting. And so if you would just think even 10 years ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation about energy on YouTube Live 10 years ago, right? People are more aware, they're more awake, and they're awakening to their gifts, which is allowing as a collective for a shift. The problem in that is that some people don't understand the power that they have. And so I think that when you're speaking, a lot of times people are speaking in a negative connotation, and they don't understand that when you speak in the negative, you're attracting the negative. So one of the sayings that's, you know, going on right now is no justice, no peace. Oh, I hate that, you know, and this is probably the only time you even hear it come out of my mouth, because, well, of course, if you keep saying that, then there'll never be peace. There'll never be justice, because as a collective, we're chanting this, and that energy, the times, you know, how many people are doing it is making that energy more powerful. And so we have to realize and be cognizant of the words that we speak, because we do have the gift of creation. And so we all do. And so speaking in a positive statement really does make a difference for more things than one. And I just don't think people understand it. And so we're kind of, you know, in like a, you know, back and forth, because we're making some progress, and then we're going back because everyone thinks that they're helping by saying certain things, which they mean well, but they just don't understand energetically how that's being impacted in the world.
That makes sense.
So if we shift that to more justice, more peace.
Yeah.
Or
so I worked on a task force in one of the organizations that I was a part of, that I am a part of, and the task force was originally named the mass incarceration task force.
Oh, goodness.
And because I work heavily inside the realm of mass incarceration and that sort of thing. And we changed our task force name to Mass Liberation Task Force, because we're like, hey, like maybe we should really bring the conversation to what we want.
Maybe we don't want to promote incarceration.
So now we're the Mass Liberation Task Force, you know, and yeah, you know, it's so weird, Inez. So speaking of energy and synchronicities and stuff like that, you brought up no justice, no peace, and I'm a protester and blah, blah, blah. So like that's something that has been in my lexicon for quite some time, that chant. But this morning, I woke up this morning with that chant in my head.
Oh.
So it's hilarious that you even just brought that up right now. And I was like, oh man.
That connection, Kira. That's that connection.
Yeah, but I see that everywhere in social justice work. Is there's a lot of focus on what we don't want versus the focus being on what we do want.
What we're creating.
Yeah. So why do we, I mean, I think I have an answer, but what do you think, Inez? Why do we as humans focus on what we don't want?
That's a good question, Kara.
Good question.
Well, I don't even know if I can answer that one, but I think it's maybe systematic. I think it's taught from a young age and we don't realize it. I think it's It has to do with worry. When you live a life of abundance, you don't have as much worry. And so many people are worrying. They're talking about the negative things they don't want to happen. And what they're doing is they're attracting those negative things to happen to them.
Well, and
so it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine also that when you're in that, because when you're facing injustice, there's a worry, there's an anxiety, there's a frustration, there's an anger, there is a lot of tension in you. Yeah, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of tension in you. And so then what's coming out of you is that tension, that emotion, which is like, I don't want this. I don't want to feel this way. Don't want. When really it's very difficult, I think, for people to put whatever they're feeling aside and step into what they do want.
And use the imagination.
Because that takes intention to do so.
Yeah.
And so when you're just speaking from what's there versus speaking from intention or possibility or creation, when you don't take that time, that space, and that intention, then what comes out of you is what's inside of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I work in the nervous system. And so what we call that is like the limbic brain versus the neocortex. So the limbic brain being the reactionary brain, like, no, I don't want that. Right.
Yeah.
Versus the neocortex, which is what makes us so human, right? Is our ability to like imagine something that doesn't exist right now.
Yeah. That's what differentiates us from other animals.
Right. What does Heimdall's Gate say? He says, we even have proof of the power of belief. That's why we can even use placebos. Yeah, that's a great conversation.
Yes.
Belief has powerful influence. Have Sammy or Inez, have you guys ever seen that manifest in your own lives where your own belief actually like manifests something?
Oh, totally. And I mean,
every day.
Yeah, every day. Well, and in the therapeutic sense, like that is what we call a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like you believe that something is going to happen. So that's where your intention lies, and if we're talking about, and when I think of intention, I think of, I guess, energetic intention, because our brain is just a bunch of mush that energy is running through. Like our thoughts are created by energy. So we're utilizing that energy, harnessing that energy. And then our actions are coming out of that belief. So if I believe that I'm going to fail a class, I'm not in school, but if I
don't fail that test,
because my actions are going to align with my belief. So if I believe I'm going to fail, then what's the point of studying? Because I'm going to put all that work in and then I'm just going to fail anyway. So that's what we call therapeutically, psychologically, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your actions come from your intention.
From the perspective of creation, when you're creating, first you have to see it, then you have to believe that it can actually happen, then it can come to fruition. And so you have to be intentional about that belief. And a lot of people have many limiting beliefs that are holding them back from their greatness in life. And so sometimes it's a matter of just stretching that limiting belief and coming from, like you said, a place of creation of what you want to happen, which will change the dynamic and the narrative of everything. When you come from that place of positivity, it's a different angle that you're approaching it from, and it makes all of the difference.
And what would you say to people who, because I hear this all the time, like, I just can't believe that is going to happen. Like, for people who just, maybe it's an unwillingness to believe that something is going to happen, or maybe there are just other stories in the background that are influencing that. Have you heard that, Inez, with people that like, I can't believe that. I can't step into that belief.
Well, my next question would be, well, what can you believe?
Yeah, okay.
That's a good question.
Yeah, what can you believe?
That's interesting.
Because you have to start from where they are. So I'll find out, okay, well, what do they believe is possible and can happen? And okay, why do you believe that? Right? And then can we take it a next step further? Can we believe a little bit more? Right? And so sometimes you just have to take small steps, and that's okay, because it's still progress. It's still all works in progress. I'm still a work in progress. Okay.
Yeah,
we're all works in progress.
Yeah. Once you feel like you've arrived somewhere, like take a moment and look in the mirror. Like, cause
you get it. Knock right back.
There to learn right there.
Mhm.
So how, and I'm sure that, plenty of people can think of plenty of ways, but what have you guys found like helps in really continuously creating that imagination versus what you've already known and seen, because it can be, the movie Memento, one of the best lines in the movie Memento is, every day I wake up and I'm suicidal. And what I hear in that is that's how I wake up. And I have to generate something different every single day. And I always say, I don't relate to that. I wake up and I'm homicidal.
I'm about to say, I don't want nobody to wake up.
I guess it just depends on the person, right?
Mhm.
But
Oh man, I thought the other morning was quite a fun one. I'll tell you about that.
But we wake up in this like shit, right? And so, what is it a person can do as a ritual, or as just to generate themselves and actually like step into that imagination of what is possible and live from there? Because honestly, like for me, I have a knowing, right? I have a knowing that staying positive, staying in the imagination is very helpful. And sometimes like I'll resist it, and I'll resist it like a child, like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, so what are practices that people can take on to be able to step into that space?
Yes. So one thing that I live by and that I truly recommend for everyone, and her name is Rhonda Byrne. She's the author of The Secret. She has a gratitude journal that people can order on Amazon that has always been a game changer for me. And I tell anyone, if you need a shift in your energy or in the negative space that you might be in or feeling, like that is the best and first thing I recommend to do. Because what you do is you just say anything that you're grateful for, right? I'm so thankful to be alive. I'm so grateful for health. I'm so thankful that I have a roof over my head. I'm so thankful for my family being safe. Like, so you list 10 things that you're grateful for in the present tense. And then you list 10 things that you're grateful for, but you speak about it as if it's already occurred. So now you're speaking about something in the future tense that actually hasn't happened yet. So for example, I'm so thankful that I'm going to be a millionaire. Right. That energy. I'm so grateful that I'll be a national sales director. That's one of mine. I'm so grateful that I'm healthy. I said it a lot when I wasn't healthy, right? And so saying it and speaking and being thankful and grateful for it before it actually happens actually attracts it to happen.
I just paused a little bit.
We got a little. What did?
Does that make sense? And so a lot of people miss that piece of it. Did we
and then went real fast.
You paused for a moment.
Are we back?
We're having a little bit of a connection issue. I'm so grateful that our internet connection's amazing right now, flowing freely.
Yes, we are. Thank you that it works beautifully with no interrupts.
Exactly.
So the last thing I was saying is that you have to speak about it as if it's already happened, even though it hasn't, right? So I'm so thankful that I'm healthy. And I'm saying that I said that one a lot when I was not healthy, right? And so you have to speak it into existence and you're grateful for it. And so it's one thing to speak it, it's one thing to write it, it's one thing to say it out loud. And then you have to feel it. Like you have to like close your eyes, visualize it, and imagine whatever that thing is, because all of those things are doing different things in the energy to help attract it to you faster and more powerfully. And so, so when you say it with fervitude, you actually are really manifesting it and creating it. And so that is the piece that people miss.
What did you say the name of that book was? I'd like to post it in the description for our viewers.
The Secret is the name of the book by Rhonda Byrne, Byrne, and the journal is the Gratitude Journal, which is on Amazon. And I mean, I order those things like crazy. I give them out as gifts because it's great. and you could use a regular notebook. You don't need her journal, but I like the journal because it gives you instructions on, you know, how to do it, when to do it, and nice positive quotes throughout, and the space to write it on both sides. Because a lot of people know about being grateful and being thankful, and they might say it in the morning or before they go to bed, which you really should do both, but they miss the step to say what they want to have happen, as if it's already occurred, and speak about it in the present tense. Because what happens is the way it works, like your subconscious mind doesn't really know what's real or what's not real. It only knows what you feel and what you visualize. And so it works to have things happen when you do that. And so that's why visualization is so important, because the subconscious mind doesn't understand words. It only understands images. And so you have to visualize yourself being there or being that, or having that. How I live in now. I visualize this sucker. Okay. Right down to the sink I want it. Right down to the sink I want it to be able to wash my hair and have a hairdresser in home. I visualize this. Does that make sense? And so you really, it's powerful. And it might not happen overnight, right? It might be, you know, months or even years in the making, depending on how large it is and how strong your vibration is and your frequency. And that's another piece of energy we didn't really get into, but your vibration is important, and you can magnetize your vibration by being grateful, by showing love. Love is one of the most powerful words in the universe, and that action actually brings more to you by giving and being a servant of others. And that's why when people say, when you give, it comes back tenfold. And so your vibration and your frequency matter energetically. And all of that comes from the activities that you're doing on a regular basis and what you're thinking in your mind. Because we have thousands, I don't know the number, you might know, Kira, but thousands of thoughts go through our head.
I think it's like
right? And so we have to take control of that. What is it?
I said, I think it's about 4,000 a minute is what I've heard. 4,000 thoughts a minute. We track maybe like what?
Yeah, because so much of it.
A minute.
Yeah,
it's happening so fast. And so grasping some control and focusing on the positive things instead of the things that are worrying you, flipping that narrative will make the difference in your life.
Yeah, definitely.
I've heard a lot about vibrational energy and that kind of a thing. And is it true? Because what I've heard about it is that it attracts a certain kind of person in your life as well. So it's like if you're giving off certain vibrations, you will have certain kinds of people attracted to you.
Yeah.
And in my experience, I feel like low vibration energy people attracted to me. So I've had to take a step back and look at that and at myself. Is that an effective way of going about, attracting the right people and moving out the wrong people, is looking at your vibrational energy? Or do you because sometimes I just feel like the people who come in and out of your lives are the people who come in and out of your lives, and how do you actually manage that in a successful manner? Can you do that through just your own introspection, through your own lifting of your vibrational energy, or does it have to be something that's more like just conscious and say like, oh, you're kind of an energy vampire, I don't want you near me? Like what has been your experience, Inez, with energy vampires?
Oh, I love that terminology. Energy vampires. Yes. They suck the life out of you, literally. They suck the energy out of you. And well, the first thing is realizing that they're doing that. Some people are not understanding that the circle or people that they're surrounding themselves with is actually sucking their energy, right? So first thing, they have to recognize it. And then you have to either distance yourself, or you have to learn how to not let it impact you. I call it like my invisible bubble, right? And so the energy that I don't want, it'll bounce off, right? And if you can even visualize creating a bubble or a force field around yourself, like energetically you're doing it and don't even know you're doing it. And so that's one thing. Sometimes people do have to be removed or you have to remove yourself, right? Depending on the situation. And then sometimes, maybe you can help someone to switch their thinking and to think a little more positive, but there's only so much you can do for a person. Like they have to be ready and wanting to take that journey on their own. And so I think you're spot on that when you are at a lower vibration, you're going to attract people that are vibrating at that lower frequency. You're going to attract situations that are at that lower frequency. And so when you're vibrating at a higher frequency, you attract a different level of people and a different level of opportunities that arise and come your way. And how you shift that is with gratitude and love and positivity and visualization and Reiki energy.
When you talk about attracting energies, I'm thinking like radio waves, right? Like there's a certain frequency, and other frequencies are going to, like, similar frequencies are going to be attracted to it. That's why we turn the radio station 101.3 and we all hear the same thing, right?
Contemporary adult rock.
Yes.
We all know what I listen to. It's the only radio station I know. Okay, I don't know the numbers.
100 point. Oh, is it? I can't remember the jingle.
I don't know.
I love jingles.
I don't listen that hard.
I got a few. But you're spot on. You're spot on, Sammy. That you're absolutely right, and that's a great way to explain it. Is that, like, when you tune to that radio station, you're on one frequency, and you're getting that, and when you tune to a different one, you're getting a different sound and a different frequency, and you're hearing it. And the other person in another space is also doing the same thing. Another way to explain it, and people might think of it like when you thought about someone you hadn't talked to in a while. Right? You thought about a friend or a family member or a coworker, even like just someone you just pop in your mind, and then like later on that day or the next day or in a couple of days, they call you or you reach out to them, or right? They just happen to be, you bump into them on accident. Like, I was just thinking about you the other day.
I get that all the time.
Accident.
Yeah.
Because you're stronger than you realize. Your frequency sent a signal that they received, right? And depending on how strong of a vibration you have will be how fast that it manifests, and how open they are to receiving will depend on how fast they respond. For example, I thought about someone that I wanted to check on yesterday evening, wee hours this morning, or that morning, and then they called me later on, right? In previous times, it might have taken a day or 2 days or something for it to happen because I wasn't operating at such a high frequency. Whereas now it can almost be instantaneous. And I didn't text them, I didn't message them, nothing. I literally just thought it, and boom, they called me, right? And so it's a matter of, that happens all the time with people. They just don't understand that that's what's happening. And, and they kind of laugh it off and pass it on, but that is the frequency working on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Energetically.
So, okay, so here's what I just popped into my head, right? Is like, well, how do you know that's true? So I'm surrounded by a hater.
I think I could probably guess who that is.
Someone who's like, this is all like, come on, this is like bullshit.
It's all woo-woo.
This is woo-woo. Like, it's not based in anything scientifically, la 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 la.
Yeah, what do you even know about science?
Yeah, right.
It actually has been proven scientifically, though. Like,
science
is all about energy and frequencies, and the placebo effect has proven the belief factor we talk about. So it really is proven.
Isn't proof scientific enough?
I'm specifically talking about my husband, who rolls his eyes every time I was like, I manifested that, because I'm around manifesting things all the time, right? And and it's like, you're silly, right? I pull a card daily. I like sage my, my fitness studio.
Totally. I do that with my bedroom every day.
He's just like,
I got crystals on now, Kira. Can y'all see? I got my crystals on now. Look, I didn't even used to wear crystals, but like, it's powerful.
Yeah. And so because basically the way that I respond, because I have to respond, and we've come to a space of like, okay, we're just going to agree to disagree, because you're not going to convince me otherwise, and I really don't care to convince you otherwise. And so, but what do you say when people are like, oh, that's silly, or that's just make believe, or whatever? Do you get that reaction from people, and how do you respond?
I was trying to think of a situation. I feel like I haven't gotten that in so long. I don't know. But I mean, honestly, I would just either take it back to something that they can relate to. Same as we said with the belief. And so I would maybe ask them, well, when was the last time you thought about someone and then they called you? You know, and usually they have an example. Like everyone has an example. Like either they called them, they text them, they Facebook message them, or they ran into them, and they're like, "I was just thinking about you a few days ago." You know, so like it happens. And how many times does something have to happen before you know, say that it's more than just deja vu or or whatever you're calling it, right? At some point, it can't continuously keep being an accident. It can't continuously being just like luck or coincidence. What it is it's synchronicity. And you said that earlier, Kara, like it's synchronicity of the universe and how you operate. And when you're in the flow of things, you can manifest it quicker. And so everyone is doing it. They're just doing it on different levels.
Yeah, and they're doing it oftentimes unconsciously.
Unconsciously, exactly.
Which, as we discussed, can be dangerous because if you're not doing it in a conscious way, you could be attracting.
Like, what are you manifesting? Which reminds me, I'm on a kickball league in the summers, and not this summer because COVID. But
COVID. Thanks, COVID.
Yeah, and I told our captain of the team last year. He was like, "We gotta win, and I was like, "Oh, I can manifest that we're gonna win the season." And he was like, "You can do that?" And I was like, "Oh, that would be a lot of intention and responsibility, and I got other things I'm putting my intentions on."
That's how I was with when I worked on Andre Vasquez's campaign in the 40th ward. We took out a 36-year incumbent. No biggie. NBD. And we would be at our cabinet meetings, and I'd be like, "Oh no, we're gonna win." Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, but this is going to be such a hard race," and blah, blah, blah. I was like, "No, we're going to win."
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you guys understand who you have at your table right now. We're going to win. And we did.
Well, and that like that experience of me and kickball being like, that's not what I want to put my energy and intention to. I have bigger things. Is there a limited amount of energy and intention? Are there only a certain number of things you can focus on at a time? No.
No, I believe that it's an unlimited abundance in the universe, and so it is limitless. I do believe that depending on where you are vibrating, what level, you might not be successful in doing multiple things at a time, right? So then focusing on one thing might help you. But you know, the more you do it, the more, it's just with anything. The more you practice, the better you get.
Right.
So a good example would be like, people are like, I never like, you know, well, what's your schedule for the day? And I'm like, I'm just going whatever the universe tells me. I'm going with the flow. Like, I don't even schedule as much as I used to because the universe is going to let me know if I need to do something, or if I'm about to miss the call that I should be on, or, you know, when I need to wake up. And I'm running like multiple groups like simultaneously and different things. Like even today I got like 5 Zooms happening, right? But I'm able to do it because I am in a different space right now, right? A few years back, I probably wouldn't have been able to handle all the different fires burning at the same time, but I'm operating in a different, on a different frequency, honestly. I'm operating at a higher frequency. Right. And so it's not as much for me, but it might be like way overwhelming for someone else. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so I think it's an individual kind of choice. But I think to start with one and then, you know, continue it.
Right, because like if we're talking about having 4,000 thoughts a minute, right? It's really just about being able to like catch the ones that aren't serving what your intentions are in life, right? And and you just get better and better at that with practice. I would say with mentorship, like I don't think that I could be who I am today without the many mentors that got me to where I am today. And there have been several. And I think that having that outside perspective to really question, well, you know, what is, my coach was even talking about, because we're at our mother's house today, the yarn, the videos, the collection of collections, right? And I was kind of dreading coming because I don't see eye to eye with my mom on a lot of the stuff politically that's going on right now. And I'm talking to my coach about it, and she's asking me, well, what happens when you guys get in these discussions? And I was like, well, you know, she says this and that and the other. And then, you know, like, well, what comes up for you around that? Well, what does that mean? And blah, blah, blah. And like, she starts to unravel all of these different like thought processes that go through my mind while I'm in that space. And she says, oh, so when that happens, your subconscious says you don't matter.
Mm.
And she's like, whether you know it or not, that's the conversation going on actually
in the background.
And it's like, you know, and I think without that level of mentorship, it can be really difficult to identify the conversations you're having with yourself that are running the show.
Yeah. And you know, I see a lot for people who have one of those conversations going on in the background. When they do notice it, there's immediate like shame or frustration with themselves. And in my mind, that just creates more of the same. And so what do you suggest to people as they're catching those unconscious intentions that aren't serving them? How do you tell people to respond to that?
First, I'll say cancel that thought. That's very powerful. Like, you know, seriously, like, and I'll say it out loud. I cancel that thought because, or I cancel, you know, I retract that statement because you can do that. You can cancel it. You can retract it. I mean, it's a fluid kind of system here. And so that's the first thing. And because catching it is half of the battle. Like once you start catching yourself doing it, a lot of times, like when I'm talking with people about like speaking, when they catch themselves saying, "Oh, I'm gonna try," I'm like, "You gonna what?" I'm gonna try. You gonna what? Oh, I will do it, right? And so, and I'm not gonna give them the word because it's not as powerful if I give it to them. They have to actually say it for themselves. And so, even if they cancel the thought, or you catch them, help them to catch it, right? If you're coaching them, then help them to, or guide them with questions on how to flip that script, right? So how to change it to a positive, to how to change it to something that will be more serving of them. And so I think that is the best way. And I firmly believe in coaches. I mean, you have life coaches. I mean, life coaches have really helped me with a lot of stuff. You have counselors. Like therapy is something that I feel like everybody needs. We all got something that we needed to clean up. And then you have energy coaches. And so when I was saying like my mentors in the energy field, they were energy coaches. That's what they were really. And so there are coaches for everything really.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And how do you, so I completely agree. I mean, we're talking energy, but psychologically, physically, it all overlaps. It's all so interconnected. And so I completely align with that. Catching it is just half the battle. And
I love that idea of canceling it though. Like, oh, I gotta cancel that.
I cancel that thought.
So
delete.
How does one know that there is something to catch? If catching it is half the battle, how does one know if there is something to catch? How do you learn to do that?
I would say,
well, I think Kira hit that one. It's with that accountability partner or that coach or that person that's helping you to grow in that space in that area. And I think sometimes because people see things differently, we all have different perspectives and opinions. Sometimes when you're in it, you can't see outside of it, right? Like just like when you're going through a storm, like you just are, you know, what's happening? Whereas somebody else was like, well, here's the door, you know, there's the way out right there, right? So sometimes you need someone just to point it out to you because you're just so engulfed. And I think that is where an accountability partner comes in, or if you're willing to pay for, you know, a coach or of whatever kind of life coach, a therapy coach, a relationship coach. They got all kinds of, I'm a business coach, right? So an energy coach, and then of course therapists. And there's all kinds of different therapy. There's, you know, psychotherapists, and you know, so there's different kinds of therapy that can work for different things. And so I do believe that is a big piece. Or you can go to something like, you know, one thing that we all have in common is like Landmark, right? And so you can go to some kind of event or organization that's already set up to help you dive deep into some of those stories that you've created that you didn't even realize you created, that might have happened when you were 5 years old, and that you've been holding on to, that have been what the limiting beliefs are stemming from. And so that's that personal development piece we touched on earlier. It does take time. One thing that I found has shifted a lot for me is the 21 Days of Abundance by Deepak Chopra. It's amazing. And I'll send you guys a link so if people want to join, they can join. And it really is transformative, because part of it is a journal piece that you don't have to share with anyone. You do it on your own, but it's journaling and asking those deep kind of questions that a therapist might ask you, right? So I think it's a free way that you can do a little bit of that and get started. And And one thing I'm doing starting July 1st with another actual landmark graduate, his name's Andrew Weiss, is we're doing something called The Magic. And so it'll be on WhatsApp. It's going to be amazing. It's based on Rhonda Byrne, who we talked about earlier, she's the author of The Secret, The Power, and The Magic. And a lot of times people don't know about that last one, that Magic book. And I think it's the most powerful book that she wrote.
Wow.
But it's not on Audible and it's not available. See? I know, and you were into this stuff, right?
Well,
so,
I've
it's really good.
Power. But a
lot of people forget about the magic, and the magic is where it's at. That's the creation part, and so we're basically going to do it together over the course of 28 days, and so I'll give you the link for that. It's a Facebook event.
Great.
It's free and it's on WhatsApp, and I think it's going to be amazing and powerful, and it's part of my mission to help shift the collective energy. And once people are practicing it regularly and being grateful and know how to attract abundance, and then they can use the magic to actually, put it to action in the universe. Ooh, things are going to change. Things are going to change.
Yeah. So what I'm getting out of this conversation is that there are a few steps to this process, like relying on coaches, community, to help you identify what's there for you, what space you're in,
right.
Learning to catch that independently on your own and cancel the thought or shift it into something that is more serving to you, like from no justice, no peace to more justice, more peace.
Or just justice.
Or justice.
Peace.
Yes, more justice, more peace.
Justice, more peace. And then from there we can practice those gratitudes in the present moment, but also gratitudes for what hasn't yet come, because we are manifesting that, putting our intention into it. And in doing those things, we can vibrate on a higher level that will then attract other people who also are vibrating higher.
Mm-hmm.
Am I getting that?
Yes, except I would say that you start with the gratitude right away, whether you have time to get to the culture, do the personal development. Like, that's the first thing. That's because it's the quickest way to shift. It's the quickest way to shift.
Got it.
And so whether you actually get to the root of other stuff that might keep coming up for you later, at least you're in a good habit. And so I would definitely practice that.
Yeah, I had a coach in Mary Kay who we had a call scheduled, and I just had a bike stolen. And it was my second bike stolen within the same week. And I was pissed. And I was like raging. I was on the phone, and she's like, Kira, you're going to sit down right now, get out a notebook, and I want you to write and she gave me a period of time. She's like, set an alarm, and I want you to write out everything you're grateful for. And that was her coaching to me in that moment. And that was my very first actual experience doing anything like that. Since that moment, I have, of course, like far more abundantly looked into, what it is we're talking about today. But I remember how profoundly different I felt inside of a 10-minute moment. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow.
Instantaneous.
It is instantaneous. Like, that's crazy. Because I thought she was like, I was like, what, Cheryl, what are you talking about? Like,
Cheryl.
Like, okay, fine, I'll do it, And again, it's that coach piece, that person that can look at you from an outside perspective and say, oh my God, like, here's what you need right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I write in a 5-minute journal every day. So it's a morning and night. And in the morning, it's what are you grateful for today? And what would make today great? And then an affirmation of self. And then in the evening, the thing I love about this journal is it does not have you reflect on the morning. So it says what made today amazing. So I'm not reflecting back on what would make today amazing, because if I didn't accomplish any of those things, then I'd be in the space of like, today's not amazing. I didn't accomplish.
Woe is me.
Yeah, but it's like in the moment, what made today amazing? And so then I'm like, okay, this is what made it amazing. And I love that journal because it does keep me present to my gratitude, and it keeps me present to my power and like how I can do anything in any moment to make that moment and my future better for what I want.
Yes.
And it's funny because my therapist every time, because yes, therapists have therapists, or at least, I recommend it. And every time that I'm in a space of like grumble, 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 my therapist is like, have you been writing your gratitudes? And I'm like, no. So it's like,
because you can see the difference. You can feel the shift in the energy,
yeah.
and whether they understand it as that or not. But you know, people really do feel when you're around a negative Nancy or when you're around a positive person, right? And when you know, like you can feel it. And so everyone is practicing in energy. Everyone is using it, and you two are using it more than most, which is why you're able to manifest things very quickly, and you have, you know, confirmation and power in doing it. And so I applaud you, you know, for doing that, and for even allowing me on this platform to share with other people. So hopefully we can reach the masses and get the word out, because that's what it is. Like people just, they don't know. They were never taught it. There's no school about it, which there should be probably.
I agree. And I love what you're pointing to, Inez, is this idea of getting it on a platform, getting it out and sharing this information, because what I think that we get, you know, not pigeonhole is not the word I'm looking for, but what we get stuck in is that, well, everybody knows this stuff. Everybody knows this stuff. It's something that I actually ran into inside of the, you know, racial justice, where I was like, I thought everybody knew what was going on. You know, apparently no. And it's like, well, shit, I haven't been opening my mouth enough. You know, I haven't been screaming what I've been seeing for decades off a mountaintop the way that I should have been all of this time, you know. And I've committed myself to like no longer doing that. And I do see, you know, what you're pointing to, Inez, is that this is the way to do it, you know, because every single human being has a role to play in this collective energy shift that we are out to you know, create, and or that we're manifesting. And so, yeah, I think that this is where we start. And I think that, and I'm really grateful that this is the topic that you wanted to come on and talk about, because this is the first time that we've been able to actually talk about something like this. And I think it's so timely, because I do believe that social, economic, and racial justice start with each one of us as individuals. You know, because the systems aren't going to change until the people as individuals and a collective demand it. And and that will happen as we continue to spread the message that we have the ability to do and create whatever it is we want to create in the world.
More justice, more peace.
More justice, more peace. And Heimdall shared, I completely agree on having an accountability partner. We're all hypocritical to some degree, even if we are trying really hard not to be. The world is complex, and morals are not always clear and easy. Yep. So Inez, the hour always goes by.
It does go by
so flippin' fast. So again, would you tell our audience where they can find you? I know that you've been doing sort of like a coffee talk every Thursday, how they can find those. Tell us where everybody can find you.
So you can find me at Inez K. Jones, and that's INEZKJONES. Oh, perfect. They got it on the screen. Thank you. And so you can find me there. Jerome's on it. Look, I'm going to Jerome. Hold on now. And every Thursday afternoon/evening, I go live and I train on different topics. I take requests. I just kind of speak from my heart and my knowledge and whatever download the universe gives me to talk on at the time. And so I do it because I feel like it's information that people need to know and that might bless them or help them in their season. And I encourage people to share it. And so that's how you can find me on all social media. And my YouTube channel's coming soon. Same at Inez K. Jones. And so I'll upload those videos I've been doing on the Facebook Lives. I'll upload them over to the YouTube channel too. So we'll have some presence there. And I'm on Instagram and Twitter and all that jazz. And so that's the best way to find me. And I'm going to give you guys the links too for the 21 Days of Abundance and the Magic, because
yes, please. We'll put
the game changers.
Description for the video too. So it's not in the description right now, but we will be putting those links in the description to the video. So if you also want to be a part of that to our audience, feel free to click those links and follow Inez and get in on that, so that you can also vibe up and create create more, manifest
Vibe
more
up, yes.
in your life. Vibing
Yeah.
up, vibing on up.
That's right. Absolutely. And, speaking of vibing up, to our audience members, just, share this video out. Let's really get the message out to
Yes.
people that we are the creators of our own destiny. And we have that ability. So, cool.
Yes, manifestation. And I'm so grateful y'all had me. Thank you for the request. I'm so humbled, and I love what you all are doing. Y'all are so talented. I love you both. And so I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so
Inez,
much
for accepting the invitation. Absolutely. Cool. And I'll be catching you. I mean, we'll be chatting and being in touch all week. So I guess I'll just be seeing you later, Inez. And,
yes.
thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks, Heimdall's Gate, for joining in the conversation.
Yes. We will not. Is it next week?
Next Father's Day, no show.
Next week we won't have a show. Tune in with us on the 28th.
Where we're talking about chronic pain.
Talking about chronic pain. It is at 11.
Oh my goodness!
It's gonna be a big one.
Yep.
It's gonna be a big one.
We are at 11 a.m. on Sundays here live on YouTube. Subscribe, like us, click the bell so that you can get notifications every time we post, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram also.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.